John Anderson and Tony Abbott, two men that I hold a lot of respect for. And John Anderson in particular, I've actually had on this show. You can go and check out our conversation. He recently went on Jordan Peterson's podcast, and I will always remember what John Anderson said. John Anderson is a very wise man. He is a man of true and powerful conviction with the things that are right, because he's also a Christian. And I think John Anderson, for what it's worth, is a fantastic leader, and I really do miss the days that he was in office, as well as John Howard. And the problem that we've got today is that we don't have many men with conviction. We have men with the wrong kind of conviction that will lead this country astray and down the ever-increasing black hole that it's fast approaching at the moment under the leadership of Albanese, as we know. And then also you have men of the opposites that don't really necessarily get too much of a voice, right? The men that have a good sense of conviction, like John Anderson, like Tony Abbott, and like John Howard. I'm missing those days. I really do. Australia was vastly different under the leadership of these men. Today in Australia, there is this deep division going on. I don't know if you've noticed it at all. Australia is supposed to be God's country. It's supposed to be what is considered the lucky country. And at the moment, it's being torn apart by radical ideologues that are just full of corruption and full of pride. And to me, it's sad to watch my country, this beautiful country, fall so far away from its original roots, away from what it used to be. It's a great, fantastic country. And what Tony Abbott and John Anderson discussed in this clip that I'll show you in just a moment, the conversation is actually brilliant. So I definitely encourage you to go and check it out. The recent Australian election showed us a number of things. One, there is a lot of division, and the culture war has played a major part in that division for Australia. But also Australians smelt a great deal of bullshit in the water when it came to the Greens Party. They're sick and tired of the major hate that is coming out of that party. I, to be honest with you, cannot believe that Australia allows a party like the Greens to exist. Why do we have that, for example? Also, why do we have a Muslim party under Fatima Payman? Why do we allow her, who is a dual citizen? That can't be accepted. Why are we allowing a Muslim party called the Australia's Voice to be part of our election process so that she can actually have a say in policies in Australia? No, thank you. Australian politics at the moment is really concerning because you have Labor back in power. The Australian people voted in the dingbat politician Anthony Albanese once again. And it seems like I have made a video about this, but Albanese managed to rig it to suit him. He got a 34.4% primary vote, and he managed to pick up almost 90 seats in the House of Reps. Yes, he took out the Greens. So did Liberals as well. Yes, the independents suffered too. Yes, One Nation helped out a lot as well. Yes, this was the lowest voting turnout in history. Yes. Although you have people saying that more people voted. And that's because you have a lot more immigrants that voted. And they voted swinging for Labor. So we have loads of problems on our hands in Australia because Anthony Albanese is letting in countless people from overseas that we don't actually want. He opened the borders for thousands of people from Gaza, and they're all going to Western Sydney. Australia is in a world of hurt, and it's being led by a man that definitely has conviction, but his sense of conviction is one that is utterly corrupt and seeped in division. Have a watch of Tony Abbott speaking about this very problem to John Anderson.
There has been a war on our culture for the best part of 50 years. I mean, the long march of the left through the institutions is essentially a war against Anglo-Celtic culture. There was I suppose, a political and ultimately an intellectual cowardice behind the whole thing. And as I said, we let ourselves down, we let the country down, and this all results in ongoing long-term damage. But in the end, we've got to be one country, we've got to be one people, we've got to be coming together constantly, and frankly, we should be stressing our unity far more, and any diversity that we might have far less. Let's face it, our migrants didn't come here because they wanted to lead exactly the same life as they led back home. They came here because they wanted a better life. And I used to say that as Liberals, we support smaller government, lower taxes, greater freedom. As Conservatives, we support the family, small business, institutions and values that have stood the test of time. But above all else, as patriots, we think this is the best country in the world to live, and we want to keep it that way.
That it assumes that all cultures are equal. Mm-hmm. All cultures are not equal.
Correct.
Correct. Go and have a look at the trouble spots in the world and ask yourself about some of the cultures that we so freely, on the one hand, condemn, and on the other hand, then we want to argue, oh no, there's nothing superior about our culture. Yes, there is.
Of course there is.
There absolutely is. There's much that's worth defending, much that's worth fighting for.
There's a lot worth defending and there's a lot worth fighting for. Yes, this is just a trailer for the full conversation, but they touch on some very, very important points. Firstly, there's been a culture war that's been raging for the better part of like 50-something years, and it's just created this enormous divide. And you had Tony Abbott during his time in office trying to mend that divide. And still, in his time in office, he was like doing the best that he could. I truly believe that. But still, loads of people went and railed up against Tony Abbott, and he lost, unfortunately. But he had a good run, nonetheless. John Anderson and John Howard, during their time in office, they helped lead the country out of a very, very dark period of time and into a time of prosperity. That took conviction. That took guts. It took loads of Australians having to get behind and trust the leadership of John Howard and John Anderson. And now we have this cultural issue taking place because Australia, yes, at one point we allowed in a great deal of migrants into this country. And for what it's worth, there's a vast majority of migrants in Australia that did assimilate, that did become citizens, did become patriotic Australians. But there's also a vast majority of them that did not. And they're the ones that are causing a great deal of havoc. And also the politicians, the leaders that get into positions of power, that listen to stupid ideas, and they even have stupid ideas themselves, and they're also bound by corrupt individuals too. They also bought and sold their soul to the likes of China. They've bought and sold land, given it over to China as well. Their soul is worth however much China deems it worthy to be. And as a result, it's created even more divide in this country. It's created so many problems. The housing prices at the moment are through the roof because we've got too many migrants in this country and there's not enough stock to go around. The Reserve Bank keeps increasing interest rates. At the moment, it's on hold. I wonder if it's going to go down. Everyone's waiting to see what the Reserve Bank is going to do. Not just that, but everyone's going, all cultures are equal, ladies and gentlemen. We must be all patriotic to the migrants that are coming from a different culture into this one. Why is it so many Muslims are leaving and fleeing Islamic republics to come to this kind of country? Not every culture is equal. That is an absolute downright lie. Whoever said that every culture is equal is an actual dingbat. It's ridiculous to think that every culture is equal. We have an enormously blessed culture in this country of Australia, but it won't be blessed for much longer if we allow these people to continue down the, like I mentioned, the black hole that is fastly approaching. And guess who's leading us there, ladies and gentlemen? Anthony Albanese. I'm glad John Anderson, John Howard, Tony Abbott, and many others are still around and still fighting and still talking, for that matter, what Australia really needs and deserves. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.